Hey Taurus, welcome to Catalyst Energies and welcome to your weekly astrology forecast. We are looking at, primarily the week of December 26th through the new moon on January 2nd, 2022. But a lot of this content right now for these signs has been very focused on the weekend because there are such incredible astrological transits that are happening that it's really it's important to be speaking to these the potency of it and really trying to unpack it a little bit for each sign because it's going to have such an impact on where the rest of this lunar cycle goes, and then ultimately the new moon, the first new moon of 2022, which is on the 2nd of January in Capricorn. So what is happening on the 24th and the 25th is so huge and is so impactful that it's actually going to have just as much impact as the rest of the transits of the week. So this is where a lot of the focus will be. Of course, we'll look at the third quarter moon, which is going to be the Libra moon that squares the Capricorn sun on the 26th. And then we'll just look right into what the new moon is going to be for Taurus, right? So let's start at the beginning here. And check out a couple of things that are really striking. Number one, the moon has been moving through Leo, and of course for Taurus people, that is the realm of the inner life and the home and family and the deep psychic structures and the core of who we are. And so everybody, I think, has been feeling a high sensitivity to being in alignment with our true authentic self and our sovereignty. And it has been expressed and certainly felt in a number of ways as far as I can tell. So for Taurus to have the moon be in the fourth house, which it's pretty comfortable in just in general, I feel like that there's been a deep sensitivity, more so than other people, to this sovereign nature and to this authentic expression. So the first thing that has to do with this Leo moon is at the very last degree, 30 degrees, it's going to oppose Jupiter at the very last degrees of Aquarius, which is in the 10th house. Now, along with this is, number one, the fact that this is part of a grand square, if you notice, with the moon's nodal axis. It's a less obvious opposition right here with between the two, the south node and the north node, but it's very obvious with this opposition with the moon and Jupiter, and this grand square is incredible. And it's right at the same time that then Saturn, in the same 10th house that Jupiter is making at least one of these angles of this grand square, Saturn in the 10th house is going to be an exact square with Uranus. Now, this has been building for a number of days, and it will reverberate out for a number of days after, but it is exact on the 24th, along with this grand square and essentially this opposition at these critical degrees of Leo and Aquarius. So we'll take a look at those, and then Venus in her retrograde is meeting Pluto again on the 25th, and along with that, Mars in Sagittarius is in conjunction with Antares, the fixed star Antares, which is the heart of the Scorpion, and it also is represented by Archangel Uriel, the fire of God, is in a trine with a now direct Chiron in Aries. So this is the release and heal and release and heal, and the sting is going to be great, but the poison is in the dose, and our ability to our system to be able to incorporate that in like a homeopathic type of thing. So Mars is going to spit the truth like fire, right? It's going to spit the truth like fire right into the very essence of our wounding, our inner child wounding, our trauma, all of the Chiron wounds and themes. And this is also on the 25th. So Venus offers up more after some inventory, some very deep inventory after the first conjunction with Pluto. Now that she's retrograde, she's going back to this position, having learned some things, felt some things, really took stock of the value of where she was at, and now is ready to offer even more, and willingly, I'd say, in a lot of cases, to offer up to Pluto for transformation, right, and to allow for this metamorphosis to happen. And then you have Mars with Chiron. So Taurus, let's look at the areas of life, because there's going to be an astrology report that focuses on these transits in themselves, and also too looking at more of the week unfolding. But it's really impactful this weekend, and so I want to look at the areas of life that each of these transits is going to impact. So for Taurus, what we're finding first is the opposition with the Leo moon and Jupiter in Aquarius in this 4th and 10th house axis, right? The axis of power, the personal life and the inner realm and the sensitivity to the inner realm versus the institutional power, where it's released in our contribution and in our career and our mission in society. That's really what the 10th house represents. And for Taurus, it is the realm of the Aquarius energy that is really the contribution, because there's something deeply connected to nature that Aquarius does represent, for all of its innovation and futuristic and technological and alien and all this stuff. The highest version of Aquarius, the most organic version of Aquarius is just that. It's organic, and it's total alignment with the law of nature and how energy is able to infuse and move through a geometric fractal pattern that we call reality or material reality. So Taurus, I've said in the last video, you are our future, because it is in the essence of who you are that is going to allow for us to, as a society, to be able to commune with what is naturally. And Taurus people, that is very much embedded in the very fabric of who they are, is this ability to commune with what is in a natural, earth-based, fertile setting, right? This is fertility, and Taurus are interchangeable because it is the fertility of the soil. And that is what Taurus represents, is the soil, the medium. The seed is planted in the medium of growth, and Taurus people are the salt of the earth. They are the medium of the growth, and so they really are the future. So first, the moon and Jupiter in these last degrees are in opposition to each other. So while Jupiter has been really keeping us on target and very disciplined and singularly focused, like a laser beam in the career house of the Taurus person, is about to move into Pisces in the 11th house, and this is going to be such a sigh of relief for everybody. But for Taurus people, it will certainly be a release and an expansion, and even an advocate, being an advocate and a representative in some way in society, right? You've gone from very, very singularly focused on the career and our contribution, and is now able to relax and expand and take kind of a wisdom teacher, or certainly an advocate position in society in general. But before that happens, there is this very tense and powerful opposition for Taurus in the sensitivity to where their personal power is coming from, and the fact that it can't be contained anymore, right? What is in the root structure of the Taurus person must surface and come out. It can't be contained anymore. And so again, you may have found that the feels and the sensitivity to this have been extreme for Taurus, because it's in the realm of the inner psychic life, the emotional security, the core of who we are. And the opposition to Jupiter has been really testing our ability to stay on target and singularly focused in the realm of Aquarius, which is like a laser beam into your third eye, right? Every time we've gotten off track, Jupiter has thrown the lightning bolt of awakening at our feet and has put us, back to where we needed to be. And so as long as that discipline and focus and that advocacy, right, and that sense of leadership and wisdom that Jupiter can represent, and certainly representation, as long as it is in conscious totality of the entire sphere here of the social order and the social organism, and the future in some ways, then the unsealing of that which is embedded very deeply in the Taurus inner realm has can safely and and very potently be released through the feelings, right? And through the subconscious, through the sensitivity. And then Jupiter moves into the 11th house and is able to finally just release, right? Relax and let it go and take a position as some sort of advocate or even like a high priest hierophant energy in the society in general, in the social order in general. So that's going to be really nice for all of us. But for Taurus, it really does show the struggle that has been happening, I think, along this axis of actual power. So the other thing, and you can see the square, right? The grand square that's surrounding all of this that none of us are getting out of, right? That is providing not only a very strong structural containment system in material reality, that there's no getting out of this, right? We just have to be in it, right? And when you talk about transmutation or alchemy, right? You're squaring the circle. And so this is the square. And the best thing to do is find our infinite self within it. You know, there's no dissolving this. There's no getting around it, right? There's not pulling in any directions. It's either be trapped or to realize that this structure is really what that is. It's just a structure, right? It's just a material, stable force that we then can find our infinite self within, right? But it's grand squares are some of the most difficult. They will give you challenge. There's no way around that. Now in galactic astrology, which is, for star seeds, these types of squares, especially if you have a grand square in your natal chart, this is keeping you in your lane, right? It is keeping your infinite self in the material because you are here to exercise a mission, right? And so no matter how you see it, all of us are going to have an interesting time with this grand square. But for Taurus in particular, this axis of power is really cutting through the middle of this whole thing and really bringing to awareness where that power is being drawn from and how and where it's being released into. At the same time, Saturn here is in the same 10th house of career and mission and is providing an anchor, or is like a huge oak tree or something, right? It is a piece of rebar that has been pounded into the ground. It is the hourglass of sand that is that you can't do anything about. You can't stop time. You can't, not in material form. And Saturn in square to Uranus, these are two titans, right? These are two titans that don't get along to begin with. And then you put them in a square, right? Next to a grand square as well with Jupiter and the moon. This is pretty powerful. So the advice I've been giving to everybody is just to take it easy and lighten up a little, because if you don't bend or lean into this square, you will most assuredly break. Saturn is so strong and firm like this grand square, but Uranus is going to have its way, right? Uranus is a trickster. Uranus will make devastation or radical reorientation in order to wake you up. And so this square is going to do it whether we like it or not. And if we can lean into it and really allow ourselves to learn and grow from this situation, or we can be so staunchly embedded in, for Taurus, so staunchly embedded into the authority and the responsibility and the real density of political and social power and the expression of our mission, that Taurus is not allowing for this variability, this innovation, and this individuation of your very identity, right? There's just so much weighing down into the realm of mission and career and where your power is being released, that in a square to Uranus, that is, you're really just kind of scrolling through potential realities of who you are, right? You haven't settled on anything. There is so much variability and erratic energy around your very identity. And in a retrograde, it's very internalized. And in some ways, this is not a bad thing. It's very difficult. it's not easy, especially as a Taurus person, because your identity is very much like steady as she goes, right? It's very, very grounded, very patient, almost too much sometimes, can be very stubborn, but also just completely rock solid. And to have Uranus here has been very interesting, I think, for Taurus people, because again, you're scrolling through like you're on your tablet going like window shopping identities. And that's not the fact that it's so variable, and to come to that awareness that it actually is variable with the help of Uranus is actually very freeing and allows you to innovate, allows you to make change to yourself in a person, Taurus, where that type of change is very slow to come, if at all. So Uranus is not exactly your best friend, but I would say that in this situation, you are really able to innovate and to think outside of the box about how you identify yourself and the person you present to the world, because soon the North Node is going to be in your first house. And so we're all going to be drawn into this Taurus archetype. And for you, it's really, again, going to be drawn into your very identity, your persona. So, and focusing there. So it's interesting with this square here. Like I said, you better lean in, because Uranus is going to have its way, and you don't want to break. You don't want things to break or to fracture or to have any kind of structural integrity that is compromised because you were standing so firm in this social or political arena in terms of leadership or authority, or just a sense of having to be responsible for this contribution to society that you don't even, the square to Uranus is just going to shake you. Right? It's going to shake you, and it's going to crack the foundation of what you're trying to establish in terms of your career or your mission. So Taurus, with so much, or you never can settle on an upgrade in identity, or an innovation, or thinking outside of the box, or individual, or just freedom, right? Or the ability to rebel or be a rebellious person, right? It's really hard to do that when you have Saturn in the 10th house that is just like, there's no rebel. Even in Aquarius, it's just like, this is how it is. And yeah, there's diversity and everybody's where they need to be on the scale or on the staircase up to heaven, but there's no room for you to do anything differently. You're just where you are, and we have to acknowledge that everybody is where they are. And it's like, what if I want to be somewhere else? What if I don't even want to be on this staircase? What if I am wanting to identify myself outside of this entire matrix? That is an important question for Taurus. And I think you really would be well advised to ask those questions if you haven't already. And this square is going to be exact very soon. So it'll still be with us, but it will start to recede after this evening into tomorrow morning. So on the 25th, we have Venus in her retrograde in your 9th house, meeting Pluto again. So in terms of belief systems and religions, religious paradigms, collective paradigms, the broader perspective, the broader horizons that the 9th house represents, the metaphysical realm, the travel into new areas that broaden your perspective, and really the realm of understanding. She, it was already impactful when she first met Pluto last week, and it was a whopper. Now there's some very deep inventory, and in the retrograde, she has been very thoughtful and introspective about beliefs and collective value systems and the meaning that they hold. So she's ready to offer even more density and offer up what holds no more meaning there anymore to Pluto for transformation. This is on the 25th. Along with this, Mars in Sagittarius is going to trine a now direct Chiron. So Taurus, this is in your 8th house of the shadow, of the subconscious, of the power dynamics in relationships. This is what we produce in our relationships. So this could be business assets or resources like profit, investment returns. This could be sexual, especially with Mars here right now. It could be very much about the sexual alchemy and the power dynamics that are created in the urge to merge, right, in the 8th house. And it's going to be in conjunction with Antares, right? The heart of the Scorpion, Archangel Uriel, the fire of God. So quite simply, Mars is going to spit the fiery truth about what's going on down here in this realm, and the meaning of it. And that fiery truth that's going to get spit right from the heart of the Scorpion is going to go right into the wounding of self that is very much part of the spiritual nature of Taurus, right? It's not as obvious. It may not be something that you don't, maybe something that you interact with in different realms of experience, like the astral, or in dream time, or in dreams and fantasies, right? Imagination. That might be it as well. But also too in the karma, collective karma, the morphogenic field, right? The Akash, the quantum realm. These are all part of the 12th house, because this is the house of all of it coming to pass and needing to be acknowledged before you move on to the next cycle, which is turning back around into the 1st house. So Mars is going to spit the truth about what's down there under the surface for Taurus and what has been produced so far, and is going to either be an incredible spiritual healing, like very potent spiritual healing for Taurus, or it's going to reinforce like some serious martyrdom for Taurus as well. Because if you realize you've been betrayed, that's a big part of the 8th house. Mars is still going to spit that truth right from the heart of the Scorpion. And it may trigger those wounds like nobody's business. And betrayal and martyrdom in the 12th house these things are coming through strong, Taurus, very strong right now. So this is also on the 25th. So incredible potential right now. There's so much potential in these next 2 days, but there's so much potential for either big quantum breakthroughs, or for everybody, but also for just destruction on so many levels. So Taurus, I have faith that you are such a solid individual that even with Uranus in your 1st house, you still manage to hold firm your identity and your stability in who you are, to even allow for the ability to transform and wake up in your own, into a new aspect of your identity. But make no mistake, these are very difficult transits. So when we go into the 26th, which is actually the technical beginning of the 4th lunar quarter, the moon is going to be in Libra, and it's going to square the sun, also now in your 9th house. So, you're really putting a lot of your focused attention and illumination in some ways in, again, belief systems and the larger collective paradigm that is giving you meaning. And there's something very important about this full moon, actually. I'm sorry, this 3rd quarter moon, that is very important. So let me get to it exactly so I can explain it to you. And you'll see how we can simultaneously finish up and finish what we started in some realms, but also allow ourselves internally to start visualizing where it is we want to go next, or what we want to materialize next. So Taurus, what we're finding here is, again, the sun is in the 9th house. It's going to be in a square to the 3rd quarter moon, which will be in Libra in your 6th house. So the sun at this position is going to, there's going to be, you want to finish what you started in your alchemical process. This is where the sun is residing for Taurus at this moment. It is the idea here that everything needs to be attended to and stacked up and dealt with and accounted for before you cross the threshold into the unknown, right? Into the next cycle, down the next pathway, right? You can't leave things unfinished. And there'll be a lot of attention focused on this, Taurus, in the realm of your belief systems and the larger, broader perspective that you hold as a part of social meaning, right? And this also does suggest that if you've begun a transmutational process in your belief systems or understanding of the larger social picture or your relationships, especially relationships, if Taurus, I got a really strong feel again about that. You may find that you have been betrayed. And when you do, Mars is going to spit that fire regardless. And again, like I said, it's either going to provide this quantum leap forward in healing these really, nebulous and elusive wounding and spiritual wounding, or it's going to reinforce the martyrdom. Either way, there's something here. Even though you've begun a process, it's important that you finish it. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't visualize and feel sensitive to the fact that as part of your daily practice, you want to start visualizing what you actually want to materialize in relationships, right? And the moon in the 6th house in general is going to increase your sensitivity to this process. The 3rd quarter square is a crisis in consciousness. You're not going to necessarily pick one or the other. You're going to feel them both. You're going to feel one and express the other, and you're going to have to just lean into where it's uncomfortable and find out how you can exist in both of these places at the same time, and how you can grow as a result of this tension. Because it's okay to be able to start visualizing. And this is, for Taurus, this is really, this is the other Venus ruled house, actually. So it's part about, it's about instituting these practices of visualization into your daily life, because that's important. But you can't finish, you've got to finish what you started in terms of this larger process of transmutation. You don't want to leave it open-ended or unfinished, because if you do, this is part of what's going on with the solar eclipse cycle. It was in your 8th house. So there's more purification that is coming out in this realm of trust, intimacy, betrayal, resources that are created and produced together. Whatever it is for you, there is more to come. This is just an aspect that is going to heal some very deep spiritual karmic wounds for Taurus, right? But that's not the end of it. That's the point I'm trying to make. You definitely do want to finish what you have started along this mystical pathway of discovery, right? And you have to make sure that you have attended to all of the things you started before you move forward. But you can still visualize, right? You can still institute into your daily life this visualization of what you want to start materializing in terms of relationships next, because that's going to be completely in line with, that's where we're all going to be. But for Taurus, if you are experiencing a considerable amount of, if you've experienced intense betrayal, or you've just really, the spit in the truth from the deep place within is just really kind of gotten you unsettled, as if you need more unsettling with Uranus in your 1st house. It's okay to feel into the need to institute these visualization practices into your daily life, because that's how you are going to come into the next cycle and not repeat it, right? And we have to do this. We all have to do this, because this is the nature of the solar eclipse, that anything that is left unacknowledged from the previous cycle will influence the next cycle. And we're really trying hard not to do that. Okay. We want to get it all cleared away. So Taurus, where this ends in terms of this report for you is that in a week's time from Sunday, the 26th, we come into the new moon, right? And the new moon is in the 9th house. So what I have been expressing to people in terms of this new moon is let it burn, let it burn, let it burn. This new moon is a chance for all of us to intend to, right, to set intention, plant some seeds around the growth process that comes about by recognizing the transcendent quality of fire. Fire purifies, fire cleanses, but all fire destroys. Of course, we know this. This is such a big theme, and you need the fire in order to emerge as the phoenix. So this new moon is this really important part of this larger process that has to do with each of us setting intention to experience personal growth in this lunar cycle throughout January that is about acknowledging and accepting and even developing the will to transcend the cycle of death and rebirth by focusing on and meditating on fire, right? The Sabian symbol is a fire worshiper, right? And it's not about worshiping fire. It is about looking at it as a symbol of this process of transcending the cycle that of karma and rebirth that we all have been going through. So let it burn. Let it burn when it comes to your belief systems, Taurus. Let it burn when it comes to the larger meaning that you've been operating and creating from, and your understanding. It's okay to let it burn, because that is how it's going to be purified and cleansed in terms of the meaning of things. So it's really very, man, this is just intense times right now. I'm really feeling for everybody. Taurus, let it burn. Let it burn. And we will reconnect in 2 weeks for the next astrology forecast. So thank you so much for being here. I truly appreciate each and every one of you. If you are interested in any way in supporting this channel and this content, you know, you can always subscribe. If you aren't already, you can certainly hit the like button if you really like this content. It really does have an impact. And you can certainly comment and share this content as well. And if you are interested in booking a personal reading, if you are interested in supporting this work financially through Subscribestar, you can access all of that information in the description box below. And you certainly can stick around to the end of this video and get some more information on how to do all of those things. So Taurus, have a great weekend. Have a great full moon, or new moon. I got full moon on the brain already. I'm like time traveling. Have a great new moon. Have a great holiday weekend, whatever you get into. And I will see you on the next video. Bye, Taurus.